After 10, 9, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wait.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. This is Huma Khan. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of Allah, the most beneficial and merciful, I am Huma Khan, your today's host for this fruitful and very impressive ELT Buzz Session. First and foremost, I would like to thank all of you from all around the world that you have joined us and give your time to this special session. With us, first of all, I would like to share something about ELT Buzz as this session is about. First of all, you have to know about ELT Buzz, that ELT Buzz session you are going to attend, which will give you the easy way and a perk and a very small things that you can easily implement into your teachings. This ELT bus session has been organized by Sayyida Fawzia Naz, who is director and founder of SFN Educational Training Services. She is she has been working in this educational field for last 20 years, and excuse me, and she has been working for this training sessions for last 2 years. So you are going to have her expertise when you are going to go for further. Our speakers and guests are here with us. The first is we are having Miss Madam Tasneem Amar Najmuddin. She is a very talented and very good person. Like, she has been working for this for several years, and she has been here for providing experimental and active learning through BPL and modeling teaching method. She is certified teachers trainer and a motivational speaker from the School of Leadership. She serves as a communicational enthusiast as well, curriculum analyst, project developer for in-house and inter-schools lead editor. It means you people are going to have her views, her her details, which can help you for English trainings. With us next, we are having Madam Shahida Shahzad. She is currently working on leadership position as the principal of Falcon House Grammar School Campus 3. She is also working in the capacity of coordinator for curriculum and training development of Pakistan Teachers Forum. And she's trying to volunteer herself in the services to just give the trainings and for Nurul Huda Education and Foundation. She's been conducting teacher training for different forums that include SPELT, AKU, and INSET, etc. She is also going to be with us, and she is going to provide us her experience and her uh, simple ways to just go for the trainings and for the English language trainings. She is Masters in English Literature from University of Karachi and MBA from IOBM in Educational Management. And not last, not last, we are having our guest speaker, Mr. Gustavo Gonzalez. He is graduated as an English teacher at ISFD, and he is all the way from from Argentina, and he is going to be with us and giving her his all the very best things which are going to help us for English trainings. You people are going to love our guest, and soon I'm going to invite our guest over here. Before that, I want to announce our lucky draws things, which you people know that we are having takeaways, that 3 takeaways, which will be selected from lucky draws. And how you are going to do that? You just have to give one things that you have learned from each of our speakers, and then you have to share that in the WhatsApp group which you people have registered yourself, and there we are going to do the lucky draws, and from there you can easily get your takeaways as well. So guys, you have to stay tuned, and you guys have to enjoy our session. So for the thing, I'm going to invite, so excuse me, yes. So for next, I'm going to invite Miss Shahida Shehzad. And before inviting her, guys, I just want to you that inform you that after all three speakers, we guest speakers, we are going to have a question answer session. In that, you people can ask the questions. But how you guys are going to ask? You just have to give your questions in the comment box so that we can have those questions, and then later onwards we can ask our respectable guest speakers. So I am inviting my first guest on your screens, Ms. Shahida Shehzad. She is going to line up with us now.
Can you see me, Miss Mariam?
Yes,
Sorry.
Ms. Shahida, I can see you. How are
All
you?
right. I'm good. So, welcome you all out there who are listening, watching, all of us. So, I believe that this is going to be a wonderful session for everyone whosoever is sitting behind the screens to watch us, to listen to us for next 60 minutes. All right. So, I have been given, I got the opportunity, to express whatever I have with me as an ELT expert to share with my audience, to share with my learners for 10 to 15 minutes. I'll try my level best to, just complete my presentation within the allocated time. So let's start with, the topic that I have chosen for this ELT buzz. Its method and its, the topic that I have chosen is the terms. When I have seen my teachers, especially ELT teachers, when it comes to planning, they always get confused between the method, between the approach, between the techniques and strategies. So they mix up all these pedagogies of ELT, and they don't really know what is the difference between method, what is the approach, and how can we include techniques in ELT classrooms. So I have chosen this topic, and inshallah, I'll try my level best to explain it to all ELT professionals sitting out there, so that when it comes to the differentiation between these three things, so they can understand that what do we mean by method, approach, and techniques. So let's start with method. In ELT, method refers to the overall plan and orderly presentation of language material which is based on selected approach and procedure. For example, if an ELT teacher has decided to teach uh, English as second language, and she is her objective of that lesson, a particular unit, is to focus on reading comprehension or writing class. So the method, the procedure, and the techniques that she is going to include in her ELT session would be, of course, focusing on all these areas simultaneously, so that there is no discrepancy, there is no discrimination, and all the method, the procedure, and the techniques, they are in line with each and every terms that we are using in this presentation. So methods and its subcomponents that we will talk about is including approach, design, and procedure. For example, as I have just seen that Tasneem is going to talk about modeling, approach. So that is called approach. The overall approach that you have adopted to teach English language, or that particular part of English in your ELT class, it should reflect any particular approach, which approach is going to be adopted by the teacher in that particular unit. For example, if the teacher has adopted communicative approach in which she is going to keep herself interactive throughout her session, in which she would be raising questions from the students, in which she would be engaging children in their thought process. So that approach is interactive or communicative approach. Similarly, it totally depends upon the which language, which item the teacher is going to teach. If she is going to teach any language item, for example, any grammar portion, any grammar component she has decided to teach, her approach may be very different from any genre that she is going to teach in writing class. All right, for example, if she has selected parts of his speech in a grammar session, so her approach could be GTM, I mean, which is grammar translation method, which is an obsolete method, but in many of the schools of Pakistan, this method is still being followed and practiced by many of the ELT practitioners, where the questions, especially in our metric board exams, it comes where the children are supposed to translate Urdu statements into English and English into Urdu in Cambridge Urdu, where they get Urdu sentences to be translated into English. So GTM though is obsolete method, but in Pakistan, where this part is actually the component of assessment in board, Karachi board, metric board exams, and as well as in Cambridge in Urdu paper. So we have to follow. Anyhow, we have to follow GTM to a certain extent, where you teach your children how to go about GTM method of language teaching. Then it has design, and then it has procedures. I will talk about in each and every item in detail. Product approach. So I have chosen for this session, since the time was limited, so I was not in a position to focus on each and every skill of language, which is writing, reading, listening, and speaking. So I have just chosen writing for this particular session. So if the teacher is going to focus on writing skills, so there are two approaches that she may adopt or adapted. She may be adapted to. One is called the productive approach, which is a product approach, and the other is the process approach. So in product approach, which is a very traditional method of, again, teaching writing skills, you must have heard about formal letter writing, you must have heard about informal letter writing. I mean, there are different genres of writing, business letter writing, formal letter writing, a friendly letter writing, a note writing, advertisement writing, draft writing, postcard. So there are different genres of writing. So in product approach, which is a little conventional style of teaching, the focus is on on mimic or model text. Usually it is presented and analyzed at an early age. Gabrielto's 2002, he has presented this, and I have quoted his article here. In a typical product approach oriented classroom, students are supplied with a standard sample of text, and they are expected to follow the standard to construct a new piece of writing. I mean, a sample, for example, if the teacher wants to teach report writing, so she will provide report as a sample. Any report, I mean, any medical report, any research paper, she will present to the students so that they can analyze the language. And then after the class, she would definitely demand children to produce the same piece of writing as they have seen or they have come across. So when we talk about product approach, so it includes 4 stages. So in stage 1, students study model text, and then the features of the genres are highlighted. For example, the tone, the register, the language, the vocabulary, the style, the mode, field, tenor, these things, the complete background, the setting of that product approach. It involves each and every genre. So stage 2 talks about the controlled practice of the highlighted features. For example, if it's a formal letter writing, the teacher is going to, just highlight how, the address part is written, which place is we follow to write address, right side or left side. Are we going to follow the block pattern of letter writing? Are we supposed to, use indent style of letter writing, where we are supposed to write, leave indent spacing? So this is how we are going to, just guide our children by showing concrete examples. All right, so that they can analyze the language in that piece of writing, so that they can produce similar piece of writing when it comes to writing after the class. So stage 3 talks about the, most important stage, where the ideas are organized. For example, if the topic for report writing is given to the students, for example, the co-education system in Pakistan, for example. So, the organization of thought will be guided, will be highlighted, so that they can get an idea. Okay, if there are 4 thoughts presented, how each para is, organized in that body, and how the sentence connectors have been used to bring more organization in the ideas of that structure. So each and everything is highlighted to tell to the children that this is how, when they will be writing, they will be using same, sentence connectors to get more unity of coherence, unity of thoughts in their piece of writing. Stage 4 talks about the end product of the learning process, in which, of course, first they will, and they will be given the sample product, in which they will analyze the genre. In the, second stage is again for the control practice of the highlighted features, usually in isolation. Then the third stage talks about the ideas in which, the thought or the topic has been organized. And the stage 4 expresses the product part of the, of the students. So what they can be as fluent and competent users of the language. Students individually use the skills, structures, and vocabulary they have been taught to produce the product. So as I have just shared, in product approach, sample piece of writing is given to the students, so that they can take help from that sample, and they can produce similar pattern of writing, in terms of genre, in terms of structure, in terms of language, in terms of tone, in terms of register. So in process approach, Kroll in 2001 defines that process approach talks about the umbrella term for many types of writing courses, which captures, in fact, the students, writers engage in their writing tasks through a cyclical approach rather than a single shot approach. Quite, contradictory or differently from the product approach. They are not expected to produce and submit complete and polished responses to their writing assignments without going through stages of drafting and receiving feedback on their drafts, be it from peers or from the teachers, followed by revision of their revolving text. So he talks about this in his article that he has presented in 2001, and I have just quoted it here. So in process approach, it's more of, students' thought that they share. The topic is blindly, given to the students, and the teacher is now going to use brainstorming. As you must have come across this terminology quite often in ELT. So brainstorming, the process approach model comprises of 8 stages, according to Steele. Stage 1 talks about generating ideas by brainstorming and discussion. For example, as in my previous slides, I quoted that if co-education system in Pakistan, you have chosen this topic to, for a piece of writing by the students, same topic in process approach you will write on the board to get ideas from the students. All right. So the topic in cloud you will write on the board, and then you will ask children to share their ideas, exchange their ideas in peer form, in group form, whatever approach you are going to, get adapted. You may, just choose and select as per your convenience, as per your tested trial and tested method. Whether you are more familiar with group work, you are more familiar with, peer work, whatever is your strategy to follow, you will follow that. But you will allow children more in process approach, where they will, start sharing their ideas out of their own observations, out of their own, predefined learning, their observations from their surroundings. So they will come across and they will share, exchange their ideas. Stage 3, talks about mapping. After you have taken the ideas from the students in form of, I have used different terminology here: mind mapping, spidergram, or linear form, in which you will, synchronize those ideas to help students. All right, so that they can see that which ideas should go in the first introduction part, which ideas should go in the body of the, that writing, or which ideas should go in the conclusion part. So this is how you are helping children. Although these ideas have been given by the students, but you are helping them by synchronizing them, so that they can, see that which ideas should go in the introduction part, which ideas can go in the, main body part, and which ideas can be used as conclusion. So in the process approach model, it is comprising of 8 stages. So the product approach is based on 4 stages model, and the process approach model is based on 8 stages. So stage 4, writing the first draft, students write the first draft. This is done in the class frequently in pairs or groups, as I've just, talked about. Stage 5 is peer feedback. These all are the techniques that I have expressed before in my previous sessions with some other groups, which is the integral part of AFL: peer feedback, assessment for learning, assessment as learning, assessment of learning. These all are the different techniques that we use for an ELT classroom. So stage 5 is a peer feedback, when students exchange their drafts and they come up with their, analysis for, the work that their partner has exchanged with them. So by responding as readers, students develop awareness of the fact that a writer is producing something to be read by someone else, and thus they can improve their own draft. All right. So when you exchange, when you allow your children to exchange their work, it allows more room for self-improvement. All right. So stage 6 is editing. Drafts are returned and improvements are made based upon peer feedback. So after, exchanging the draft within the, partners, within the classmates, the editing part is done. All right. The mistakes, the grammar, the language, the, tone, the register, whatever, they have identified. Of course, the checklist has to be provided by the teacher to the students to help them, that what are they supposed to look at. That checklist has to be provided on the board, and after they, receive the draft from the children, they will take help from that checklist, and then they will assess, the work that has been shared by their students. Stage 7 is the final draft. A final draft is written. Stage 8, evaluation and teachers feedback, which is, the combination of their partners feedback and, the final evaluation of the teachers feedback. So they incorporate whatever, the feedback is shared. Students are given time and space to incorporate that feedback, so that the final draft is developed, and, the final piece of writing is ready for the teachers to evaluate. So I have actually, presented 2 approaches for a writing class. One is the product approach, and the other is the process approach. So I just want to, highlight the differences of both of these approaches for ELT practitioners. who are listening to this session. In process-driven approaches, the task-based learning in that students are given considerable freedom within the task. So the process approach is task-based. They are not curved by the preventive teaching of lexical or grammatical items. However, process approaches do not repudiate all interest in the product. So the aim is to achieve the best product possible. What differentiate a process-focused approach from the product-centered one? That the outcome of writing the product is not preconceived, as you know, unlike in the product approach, in which the sample is provided to the students to look at and copy and follow for each and every genre, structure, register, tone that we are presenting. So the question comes that whether teachers should follow product approach for teaching writing, or they should follow process approach for teaching writing skills. Again, there is nothing final in ELT. Sometimes, as I have just talked about, that in our times when we were doing all these courses, we were told that GTM method is obsolete, GTM method is no more in use. But when we look at the examination procedures, we see that the component of that translation is given in our assessments, it is given in our examinations. So how can you ignore that? So you have to keep that in focus. So similarly, in product approach or in process approach, I just want to say that both product and process approaches have their own benefits and drawbacks accordingly. It is believed that complementary use of both approaches helps students, writers, develop their skills in using language by experiencing a whole writing process. All right. So at times, it again depends upon the learning profile of the students. If you see that people whose first language is not English, whose first language is not Urdu, whose first language is some other dialects, so of course in that case you have to see that you may go for a combination of both the process to teach writing. Sometimes children, they don't really have that very strong base of language, in which the structure, their sentence structure may be very very weak, in which you may need to provide them samples for that, so that they can take help from the sample, and then you can shift from the product approach to the process approach. Or you may use the combination of both approaches in teaching writing skills. This is all from my side. If you have any questions, I'm available by the end of the session. So that's all from my side. All right, I hope I have done justice for my presentation. If anything is not clear, I'm readily available after the session.
Thank you so much, Ms. Shaida. That was a lovely and a very informative session presented from you, and we have
Thank you so very
learned a lot. And now, thank you. And I would like to move now to our next guest speaker, who is Ms. Tasneem. She is going to come with us in a very few moments, and then she is going to explain and give her point of view about today's ELT Buzz session. So I over to you, Ms. Tasneem.
On the platform of SFN in this ELT Buzz. Thank you, Ms. Shahida, for such a wonderful session. Seriously, the approaches that you mentioned will really help us as an English teacher as well in our confined classrooms too. So moving ahead, Assalamu alaikum everybody. This is Tasneem Ammar Najmuddin, and I'm going to be sharing my screen in a minute over here. Okay. And there we go. I hope my screen is visible to all. Ms. Rima, can you see my screen?
Yes, Ms. Tasneem, you can go ahead.
All right.
All set.
Thank you so very much, Ms. Rima. All right, everybody. The topic that I believe in and I'm going to talk about is perks of modeling teaching. My name is Tasneem Ammar Najmuddin, and I hope you all are going to carry along well in this session. Before I move on to explain what modeling teaching is, I would like to ask you all as teachers, what is your teaching style? Is it authoritative? Is it delegatory? Is it of demonstrative or of a facilitator? Or may you prefer the modern hybrid style of teaching? Which is your teaching style? Which style do you dominate as a teacher? I really want you to think of it. And moving on, answer this question to yourself as well. Do you ever have to teach your child the language you speak at home? Yes or no? 70% of the language that you speak at home comes naturally to your child. Why? Why do we say don't fight in front of your child? Don't lie in front of your child. Don't argue in front of your child. Have you wondered why? Well, the answer is quite simple. Your child imitates what he sees you doing. I want you all to concentrate on the word doing. What you do is done by your kids in a natural fashion. This, my friends, is called the natural art of modeling. This is modeling teaching. Children learn and imitate behaviors by watching and listening to others. This is called observational learning, where they watch, retain the information, and then replicate their behaviors. Quickly, I'm going to ask you this, guys, a question over here. Quickly think of a thing you have learned just by observing others, and I would like you to just post a comment right in the comment section. Things that you might have learned just by observing others. Children learn from models all around them. On television, in the grocery store, maybe at home. This same phenomena applies in the classroom too. Now the bigger question is that what is modeling teaching? Even and Kochak in 2001 stated that modeling is an instructional strategy in which the teacher demonstrates a new concept and students learn just by observing. Now everybody, I want you to either with a paper and a pen write down one way that you have experienced modeling during your own education as a student. B, modeled a task for your students when teaching. Either you take a paper and a pen to answer these pointers, or you can also post it in the comment section. I'm going to wait for a minute or two. I really want you all to think that when you were a student, have you ever experienced your teacher modeling something for you? Or as a teacher, have you modeled something for your student? If yes, I would request you all to write it down, please, so that the digestion of my further explanation will come handy at you. All right. Moving on. I would like to explain it to you all, the perks of modeling teaching, why I believe in modeling teaching so much. Number one is modeling teaching says no to rote learning. It involves experiential learning rather than just theoretical explanations. Instead of explaining students to think outside the box, I firmly believe to show them how to create their own box. You see, it can be small and untidy or big and colorful. It can be of any size or shape and color, but it's their box and they should feel the authority of owning their own box. Point number two, modeling engages students and encourages learning. It anticipates group learning, builds trust, and opens communication. Point number three, modeling provides examples of what is expected of the students in terms of work or behavior. Right now in the session only, Ms. Shahida explained that if you want your kids to write something, be it a letter or a report, you need to provide them with a sample, with a template. That is your modeling. And modeling provides what is expected of out of students. They are mentally prepared of the expectations that you keep of them, be it for work, be it for behavior. Now, the question is that we keep on talking everything, we keep on having these fancy talks, but how to actually apply, how to practically apply these things? Now, let's bring modeling teaching to the class. The first type of modeling that I'd like to introduce to you is called disposition modeling. Now, disposition modeling is a type of modeling where teachers convey personal values or ways of thinking in front of the class. Now, the best way that I personally apply for conveying disposition modeling is role play. Role play is the idea that helps to inculcate values such as honesty, compassion, integrity to students. You do not have to give them a lecture onto it. You role play it to it. I'll just like to share an example over here that I remember myself in a classroom where litter was all spread around the dustbin. It was the period right after the break. I was watching as a teacher, I was observing students not picking up the litter outside the dustbin. In fact, they were throwing more litter outside the dustbin because there was litter outside the dustbin anyway, so nobody bothered throwing it inside the dustbin. I waited patiently for a time being. Then I stood up, I went to the dustbin, knelt down on the floor myself, and started picking up the litter. Seeing me doing, the word over here is doing, seeing me doing, one girl from the class came up to me to help me out. And she actually helped me out picking up the litter that I was picking up from the floor. And seeing that girl, the next one came. And so on and on, a train of helpers started cleaning alongside me the floor that was swamped with litters. This experience even helped students who saw their teacher and fellow students cleaning took care of their litter and properly threw it in the dustbin. This is the power of modeling teaching. This is called role play. Role play your expectation rather than commanding it. The other type of modeling that I'd like your attention on it is task and performance modeling. Over here, a teacher demonstrates a task which students will be expected to do on their own. Now, how to apply and bring task and performance modeling to the classroom? Well, I call it, are you a Pied Piper? I'm sure you must have all read about the story of a Pied Piper where, all the rats follow the Pied Piper without any external efforts. He just did what he loved to do and he loved to play the flute, right? As a teacher, create awareness in students to learn from religious sermons. We have a lot of religious congregations and sermons going around in Pakistan. And then there are barber shops and we have carpenter shops and we have streets where we find students roaming every time in and out. But have you ever wondered why these places, and I always believe that kids, they learn best from all these areas more than a confined classroom. So after thinking and overthinking about what is that particular element because of which kids can learn more from these areas rather than a classroom, what these things provide, then, how can they engage our students in a way that teachers fail to accomplish in a classroom? What is so magical about this type of teaching? Well, I figured out it's not only based on theory and content, but also there's an element of magic. I call it a Pied Piper moment. As teachers create that magic of a Pied Piper, build in trust and confidence in students that they do better than what you expect them to do. And over here, I'd like to give you an additional tip. To model teaching beyond the boundaries of classroom, call people related to the field, bring in mentors. What best than the person from the field himself to show students the right path? Moving on, I would like everybody to draw your attention towards this type of teaching that is called metacognitive modeling. Does your student even know how to think? Even does your student even know what to think in a classroom? When I started teaching, this was the problem that I faced. Even if I want to give my students the freedom to work, they don't like that freedom. They just like themselves to be treated as donkeys, where I give them what they are supposed to do, where I ask them to do and they do it. That's about it. If you give them choice, they go lazy, they go confused. We as teachers have snatched from students the power of actual thinking. So this for you, ladies and gentlemen, I present metacognitive modeling. Over here, we teach students how to think and what to think on their own. Metacognitive modeling demonstrates how to think in lessons. It teaches students how to think. It helps focus on interpreting information and data and making conclusions about what has been learned. Now, how to bring metacognitive modeling in the classroom? Well, the idea is simple. By pursuing thinking out loud approach. Here, the teacher can read or solve a mathematical problem or read a passage out loud and ask herself a couple of questions as such. What do I know about this topic? What do I think I will learn from this topic? Do I understand what I just read? Do I have a clear picture in my head about this information? What more can I understand from this? What were the most important points in this reading? What new information did I learn? How does it fit in with what I already know? And so on and so on. These are the questions a teacher, while modeling metacognitive, can actually ask in front of her students out loud to make them understand how to build critical analytical thinking. As Ms. Shahida also mentioned, graphic organizers work best to model metacognitive skills. This one is my favorite type of modeling. I firmly believe in this. This is called student-centered modeling. Heston in 2007 said that teachers engage students who have mastered specific concepts or learning outcomes to model the task for their peers. Making students their age do and accomplish the task encourages other students to finish it up themselves. If I know that from my class a child is doing good, and if I present the child in place of me explaining it to other childs, students are encouraged more to I apologize for a minute, my battery. Okay. If you even present a student who is amongst from that particular batch of students, come and present the work, students feel motivated, they feel inspired. If this my friend can do, of course I can as well do it, right? This is called student-centered modeling. Now, these are a couple of strategies that I'd like to share in how to make a student-centered classroom. By cooperative presentations, setting up a panel, or KWL. KWL is a form of graphic organizer. Brainstorming, as Ms. Shahida mentioned. We can create media, we can have discussion panels, we can have small group learning, case study, jigsaw, learning center, experiments, role play, simulation, lab, workshop, demonstration, index card. All these are activities, if you can see it on the screen, that can help you as a teacher create a student-centered classroom. This, my friends, it's a modeling checklist. I believe everybody should have it. Modeling processes with pupils involves establishing clear aims, providing an example, exploring thinking, yours as well as your students, demonstrating the process, working together through the example, providing prompts, or we call it scaffolds as well, providing an opportunity for pupils to work themselves alone or in pairs. A couple of these things are the checklist. I believe every teacher should carry it in their purse or on the softboard of the classroom. Because I would like to conclude my session on this note that I really, really love, that more grows in the garden than the gardener knows he has planted. Practice. My advice to you all over here is practice modeling your teaching because it brings your classroom alive. On this note, I'd like to conclude my session for the day. Thank you very much for listening to me, and I hope you must have pocketed something out of this session. Over to you, Ms. Rima.
Thank you so much, Miss Nadia. That was really instructive session you have provided us, and really it's going to help everyone out there who is going to teach English. It was very
I'm
beautiful.
sure.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so very much. Thank you so very much.
So now I would like our next speaker, Mr. Gustavo, to just come online and just give us his idea for English learning techniques. Over to you, Mr. Gustavo. And I would like the participants to just give their questions in the comment box so we can have your questions there. So you people can just give your questions, and in the end our respected guest speakers will answer your questions over there. So you can just drop your questions over there. We are going to notify them later. In any minute, Mr. Goswami is going to be online with us. And don't forget to give your best learning tip from all our speakers in our WhatsApp groups so that you can have takeaways, and lucky winners are going to have that. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm going to see them too. And those who have registered, they can easily WhatsApp their learning tips from the sessions. You can win exciting gifts there from us. Mr. Gustavo is going to be with us in any minute. I hope you all. Oh, there he is. Hello, Mr.
Hello,
Gustavo. How are you?
hello, everybody. How are
Over,
you?
over to you, Mr. Gustavo, now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we are very clearly. We can hear you.
Great. Can you see my presentation?
Right now, I cannot see it.
Yeah, but I'm sharing the PowerPoint. Well, in the
Okay.
meantime, hello, everybody. My name is Gustavo Gonzalez. I am just making my contribution all the way from Argentina in South America. Yeah, and I'm very happy to be sharing with you 15 minutes, right, in this fantastic event for teachers of Pakistan and the area. Yeah, can you all see my presentation? Can you just tell me if you can see my PowerPoint?
Yes, it's all clear. You can
Fantastic.
just go ahead.
So I'm gonna go in 15 minutes. I would love to share like a longer time with you, but I will be as brief as possible in sharing my views on integrating technology in ELT. So what I will be doing with you in these 15 minutes? I will be discussing the impact COVID-19 has had on face-to-face English language teaching and how technology has helped us through. I'm going to be informing our choice of digital tools for the new normal way of teaching. And I'm going to be exploring in just 15 minutes only one model for technology integration. Let me go back to the first slide. You have my personal email address there. If you're interested, I will be more than happy to share the PowerPoint presentation with you. So if you're interested, please make sure you copy my email address. You email me and I will be sharing this PowerPoint presentation with you all, right? For me, teaching is sharing, and so feel free to do it. I would love to hear from you and after this presentation. So that is my email address. Let's see if you can see it. Yeah. gugonzalez1970 @gmail.com. Okay, great. So now we are ready to start. You will have it at the end of the presentation as well. Great. So guys, I'm going to start by saying that the use of digital technologies and apps is not a choice any longer. Now, sometime in the past, some teachers were deciding whether to incorporate technology or not. But because of this COVID-19 situation, we have turned to teaching online almost 100%. Somehow, technology and apps have saved the school year. And who were there to do it all? Who was there? We, the teachers. The teachers that overnight we have to change our traditional approaches of teaching. We have to improvise our lessons, not plan the lessons, but improvise this on how to work with technology, even for some teachers that had never used technology before. So what have we done so far with this idea of integrating technology in COVID-19 times? We haven't freaked out. We've gone a long way since March, adapting and adjusting our methods of instruction. We have taken the situation as it is and have reframed our methods in the present and maybe future of instruction in record time. Yes, it's amazing what we have done. So it's pat on our shoulders, teachers. We have done and we are doing so well in this new scenario we are teaching today. We have seen it as a tearing down and rebuilding of traditional teaching. And last but not least, we have shown great adaptability and hands-on attitude to make the best of the situation to favor our students. And this has to do with what Tasmin was saying about student-centered approaches. We have to give the students that, crucial role they have in the classroom, online classroom or face-to-face classroom. So, I don't know, but I think that you will be very familiar with some of these platform here, and like Zoom, like Microsoft Teams, Google Teams, Google Meet, Jitsi Meet, Adobe Connect, and that's me, that's my Bitmoji, because we have turned to using these platforms most of the time. I don't know what you're doing in Pakistan, but here we are just teaching online. We are not having face-to-face lessons. So what has happened? Face-to-face learning or classroom-based learning have somehow vanished, in this COVID-19 pandemic. We cannot even talk about flexible learning because flexible learning also implies some face-to-face connection, and we are not having that. So what happens? Blended learning, also known as technology-mediated learning or mixed-mode learning or web-enhanced learning, distributed learning or hybrid learning, or maybe you may be familiar with the concept of flipped classroom or M-learning, mobile learning, is not even what we are doing today, because as the term implies, blended learning implies blending traditional teaching face-to-face and online teaching. And we are not doing that. We are just working on online teaching. So now we are just talking about e-learning or online or digital learning, or CSEL, computer-supported collaborative learning, or remote distance learning, DL, or these are the buzz terms during this 2020, synchronous and asynchronous learnings. And we had to start learning about this, all of a sudden, because we needed to meet our students' needs. Yes, they needed to keep learning, and we needed to be there for them, meeting where our students were at. And so what happens? This led us to start working on social learning and more collaborative learning. And I'm going to make a stop here and see if you know about this term, nomadic learning. Have you heard of this idea of nomad learners or nomadic learning? Well, I cannot see the chat, but in case you are not familiar with this, This is a portmanteau. It's a combination of two words that came out from Dr. Cristobal Cobos, yeah, and Dr. John Moravec from the University of Oxford, with this idea of invisible learning. And they think that they have done some research, and they came up with this idea of a nomad society, where you have nomad, yeah, people who don't settle, yeah, and knowledge and nomads. So here we have the word nomad. And nomadic workers or learners are those people who learned anytime, anywhere, and from anyone. So it is vital, it is paramount that we teachers make the content meaningful, relevant, and useful. Why? Because our students will Google the content they are interested in at any time, yeah, whenever they are interested, and they will be learning from anyone. So we teachers, we need to make the content really meaningful for the students, yeah, to provide them with a context in which what they are learning can be really useful, right? And then that comes to you learning or ubiquitous learning. Of course, in 15 minutes, I won't be able to explain everything, but I hope this presentation of mine leaves you with a lot of questions more than answers, and you feel prompted to do your own research on this. But basically, what I'm really interested in is that no matter the learning we are going through, it has to appeal to lifelong learning. We need to make our students learn for life. Yeah, and the thing is that this is very important. It's for us teachers as well. So what I will be doing here is that with coronavirus stay-at-home orders, students and teachers we were forced to make a rapid change to online learning. But this brought along some issues, like lack of access to good technology, computers, cell phones, and fast Wi-Fi, lack or availability of resources, lack of or little digital literacy, work and family environment at home, and netiquette and online exposure. And here you have another portmanteau, netiquette, etiquette that you use on the net, how you behave online. And this is something that we also needed to teach our students and maybe teach ourselves on how to deal with online etiquette, netiquette. So guys, I am very happy to be sharing with my both colleagues before that they talk about methodology. And for me, before technology comes pedagogy. For me, this is crucial. We have the greatest technology, but there has to be a pedagogical purpose supporting the choice of technology in our classes. So what I will share with you today is a roadmap to technology integration in education by sharing with you only one model you may want to consider to inform your technology integration approach to support, to back up your traditional methodology, right? And I'm going to be sharing with you the PIC-RAT model, the PIC-RAT model designed by Kimmons in 2018. Of course, there are many more, but I wanted to share with you only this one that is easy to grasp, right? And I hope it is a springboard for you to consider when integrating technology in your lessons. So, PIC-RAT is a very recently developed technology integration model whose framework assumes that there are two foundational questions that a teacher must ask about any technology used in their classrooms. And the first question is, what is the student's relationship to the technology we will be using? And the second question is, how is the teacher's use of the chosen technology influencing traditional teaching? So let me go back to these two questions. What is the student's relationship to the technology we will be using? And how is the teacher's use of the chosen technology influencing traditional practice? The first question addresses the PIC part of the model. And PIC stands for passive, interactive, and creative. So what is the student's relationship to the technology we will be using? Are they taking on a passive attitude? Are they really interacting with the technology? Or are they using technology to create artifact knowledges, knowledge artifacts, sorry. And the second question addresses the RAT part of the model, which is the teacher's part, right? And here we have RAT standing for replacing, amplifying, and transforming, right? So how is the teacher using technology? Is the teacher using technology to replace the traditional approach, to amplify it, or to transform it? Yeah. And on a very personal perspective, I think that ideally for me, yes, I would choose the C for creative from the pick and the T from transforming, from the RAT part of the model. So in a more visual way, this is like on this axis how the pick RAT model, right, works, right, with these initials, right? So CR stands for creative on the side of the students, and here, right, replacing on the side of the teacher. So very briefly, what is the student's relationship to technology? Let's see, passive. Students are relatively inactive receivers of information. This is not student-centered at all. So I don't know if we want to use this, right? It's a choice, right? But I think that our aim is to go further. Then you have the I for interactive. Students receive information and have some means of responding to it. Through manipulation of information in the good sense, they can begin to scaffold the information into existing knowledge. And then you have the P, passive, we have the I for interactive, and then what is the last letter missing here? Exactly, C. And C stands for creative. Great. Students are creating learning products that represent a significant synthesis of new information. This is what Kimmons came up with, taking into account the RAT model that already existed. And in the RAT model, the teacher, using the R, replaces. Technology simply serves as a layer of convenient, and I love this, cosmetic improvement. I love these two words, cosmetic improvement, but does not fundamentally change the nature of the lesson. Then we have the A, amplifying. The teacher is using technology to amplify. Technology then adds elements to the lesson not easily achieved with traditional classroom methods. And the last one, the T, transformation, is that in the absence of technology, the lesson would be impossible to present to students. It is intimately integrated into the experience of the lesson, right? So I've been talking for a long time. So let's see if we can put this into practice by asking you to see if you can analyze these different scenarios. For example, a teacher uses PowerPoint as part of their class. What initials of the PIC-RAT model do you think that this scenario addresses? A teacher uses PowerPoint as part of their class. I'm just giving you some seconds to think. I cannot see your contributions, but one of the possible answers, I'm not saying that my answer is the correct one, is PR. Yeah, remember, right? Pick, right? Right. The students are very passive, yes, and the teacher is using PowerPoint to replace maybe the whiteboard or the blackboard, right? So this is more or less how the two axes join. Second situation, students pass a touch-enabled tablet around the room and write a collaborative poem. What elements of the PIC-RAT model do you think this scenario addresses? Mm-hmm. Okay. Could be CR, creating, yeah, because they are creating a poem, yeah, and the technology is replacing. Scenario number 3, students play an online role-playing game about the characters in the reader. This could be IR or IA, like interactive and replacing, or interactive and, okay, remember the amplifying. Exactly, the A is for amplifying. And like this, you can start analyzing what is what we do with technology. I'm not saying that one is better than the other. Okay, I'm just giving you the possible key for these different scenarios. But the thing is that how am I going to use technology depending on what the students need to do? And for example, I love working with music and videos. Yeah, and let me share a little bit of a video now. Let me see if I can go back to the presentation. Yeah, here. Okay, great. And I'm gonna share a little bit of a video, right? Let me see if I can share the video with you to illustrate what I mean by this. Okay, let me go to share screen again. Share. Okay, share screen. I have to share screen. I have to go to Chrome here. Let me see if I can show you this clip, right? And pay attention to what this professor at university says.
Richard Culotta, former director of the Office of Educational Technology for the U.S. Department of Education, shared the following concern.
Here's the issue. If we are not careful, if we are not super cautious about all the decisions we make, in a very short amount of time, by the time the freshmen that are in this room have graduated, we will have a complete digital replica of the traditional practices that are not working today. And we will have everything that we have now. It will just be on a screen instead of on paper, and it will be just as ineffective, and it will cost a whole lot of money, and we'll be just as stuck as we will, and not have another ticket to play to be able to make a change.
Okay. So, guys, okay, let me go back to the presentation. Yeah. Okay. So, did you notice what he said? That if we are going to do exactly the same as we do with technology, yeah, in the traditional classroom, it will make no sense whatsoever. So, I don't know if you're familiar with edpuzzle.com. Edpuzzle is one of the many tools that I can share with you today in which you can intervene a video and make it interactive. So what is what you will be doing applying this pig-rat model? You will make the students interact with the video in real time. So what you do with edpuzzle.com is you can make a video lesson in 3 very easy steps. You can find a video on YouTube, or you can use some of the activities that have already been uploaded on the site. Yeah, and then what you can do is you can create like multiple choice exercises at a certain point in the video. So you start watching the video, you stop the video, you design the question, and when the students are watching the video, the video stops, and then you will have the multiple choice questions. They answer the question at that moment, they submit the answer, and when they submit, they continue watching the video. Instead of giving the students a Word document with questions for them to answer after watching the video, what you do is you make them interact online in real time while watching the video. Yes, I don't have time to show you an example, but I did this with a song. I love working with music, as I told you before. And whenever I work with a song, I just use edpuzzle.com. I upload the video and I create my own video lessons. Yeah, give it a try, have a go and explore it, right? Yeah, and stuff like that. And so I have just less than 5 minutes to finish. So going on this methodology thing, I would like to just to wrap up this mini presentation by sharing with you what Jane Hart this year in 2020 calls the 4 Ds of learning. Which are the 4 Ds of learning? The first is didactics, being taught, that is formal learning. Accompanying the first D, we have the D for doing, learning from working. That means talk about experiential learning, experimenting, yeah, having a first-hand possibility to learning. The third D is the discovery, yes, finding things out, which is very informal. And then we have, of course, the D for discourse, interacting with others. Remember that at the beginning I talked about the importance of social and collaborative learning. Yeah, because our brain is social. Our brain is social. And research will tell you that, I mean, and this has been scientifically proven, that we are much better at retaining information when we learn collaboratively than when we do it on our own, when we do it alone. So taking this into account, yeah, you have here a wide range of sites and tools to address each of these 4 Ds of learning in the digital era, right? And some tools that you may find really interesting for you to explore and see if you can adopt and adapt to use them in your teaching. And here we have this kind of wheel with some of the many apps and sites I use with my students. Of course, this will be, I don't know, I will need a whole day, a whole training course to share with you all of the apps and sites that I'm sharing with you here, but it's very important at least to have a look at the names for you to explore. Remember that if you email me, I will share the PowerPoint presentation and you will have more time to have a look at each of these names on this wheel, yeah, and explore the sites and the tools on your own. So I'm about to get the finish line here. So I'm going to finish with a quote by Andrew Barnes. He said that technology in the classroom is not the end goal. Enabling learning everywhere is the goal. So remember what I said, that technology, yeah, I mean that before technology comes pedagogy, right? And that is crucial, that is paramount, that is important. Then Howard Gardner says that technology cannot dictate educational goals. A pencil can be used to write Shakespearean sonnets or copy homework. The internet can be used to engender enlightenment or hatred. Be careful. Before we can embrace any new technology, we need to declare our educational goals and demonstrate how a particular technology can help us to achieve them. Yes, technology must be a means to reaching our educational goals, not the end in itself. And then the last quote I'm going to be sharing with you is by George Couros, who says that technology will never replace great teachers. But in the hands of great teachers, technology is transformational. I hope my humble contribution from this side of the world, right, has cast some light on your idea on integrating technology in your lessons. Once again, that is my personal email address. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm going to stop sharing the presentation now to go back to, okay, to everybody here. Yeah. And let me see if I can see you all again. I hope my contribution has been, yeah, I don't know, effective and useful for the idea of integrating technology to our methodology, yeah, our teaching methods.
It was a wonderful session, Mr. Gatsabo. Absolutely wonderful and very much effective.
Thank you, Shahida. Thank you.
Yes.
I'm very happy that the three of us, we were on the same line talking about the importance of methodology.
Yes,
Yeah, the idea is that not improvising, but careful planning. I mean, addressing students' needs. Yeah, whether it is, as you said, product approach or process approach,
Process
or
approach.
Rima, Tasmin, as you were talking about the importance of student-centered lessons. Yeah,
Yes.
now the teacher is no longer the sage on the stage. We have become, or we need to become, guides on the side, and we need to become mentors, participants in the learning process. And that's why we build learning together, teachers and students working together, yeah, to make the aim of education a goal in itself.
Thank you so very much.
Seriously, loved your session, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I really enjoy yours. Rima, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Kusawis. Really was wonderful. I really learned a lot, and inshallah, soon I'll mail you for my PPTs that you are going to send me.
Of course, yeah.
So, I would like to have some questions if our participants are going to have. So, let me check the comment box. So, here I think it's if any question you people want to ask your each other, you can also do that.
I want to.
Yes, ma'am, Shahida, for sure.
My question is from Mr. Katsavo. You're right. Since we are living in a developing country where resources are very rare, all right,
Limited.
and for technology integration in your institution you have to have proper budgeting, right, on the part of institution and on the part of your stakeholder, right, your parents. So as the leader of the institution, I came across this challenge of capacity building on the parts of stakeholder and as well as on the part of institution. So how do you address, and what is your suggestion to address the capacity building? For example, if there are 3 children studying in my school and they come up with this challenge that how I'm going to provide 3 different gadgets to my children at home to attend 3 sessions, online sessions simultaneously. So that was the issue that I was facing as the head of the institution. What is your suggestion for this particular challenge, Mr. Kitsavu? That is my question from you.
Okay. I think, Shahida, that's a very interesting question,
Yeah.
because we need to take into account the means that the institution have, and also the students' means, and I also mean economic situation of all the
Yes.
students. And so I think that we cannot force students or institutions to get the technology, because that would be really frustrating for them because they don't have the means to
Yes.
obtain that. So
Yes.
I recommend using technology only when we really know that our students and their families and the institutions can
Please
afford
have
that.
food.
You know what? Because I remember in a rural school here in the area, the teacher said, okay, next class, we are going to use cell phones. And the student went home and said, hey, the teacher of English told me that you need to buy a cell phone for me.
Yes.
And that's not what the teacher had said.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
look at what the person understood and the implication. So we need to use whatever is available. We don't have to make our students feel bad because they don't have access to that technology, right?
So
So I suggest using low tech. Low tech. And what do I mean by low tech? Well, we have maybe a kind of cell phone, and not
yeah.
everybody has a cell phone.
And
Yeah. So I think that in the light of all this, Shahida, for me, what is essential is contexts.
yes.
Context is essential, and who better than you, the teacher, than to know the context in which you are teaching. So
Yeah.
don't use any technology, or don't suggest any use of technology if you know that the students will not have access to it, because you may make them feel emotionally detached, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
then what's the purpose of incorporating technology? If technology will add up, fantastic. But if technology will not be something that will help, I will discard the use of technology and we'll go back to traditional teaching. But I hope you agree with me that with this question of this pandemic, the use of cell phones in the class now will have to be incorporated as one more tool, as the dictionary, as the course book, as the interactive whiteboard, as the board, right? But not everybody has to teach with cell phones. No, it's just one more tool. You may use it or not, depending on the context you teach.
Context is very, very important.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and then I think it's very important if you're familiar with the TPAC model. TPAC model. Have you heard of the TPAC model? Koshler and Mishra? Is
We
that
have
technology, pedagogy, and technology content? Pedagogy and technology integrate knowledge. That is the TPAC model. But maybe
So-
that's something that is interesting to take into account.
So in my case, in order to facilitate my parents and my students, we actually, adopted recorded lectures so that, they can utilize different timings. I mean, if somebody is missing morning session, so that would stay, we have been using WhatsApp as, a different tool. So all the recorded lectures sessions, they will be on sharing mode, so they can access as per their time convenience. So this is how we, facilitated our parents and students
And
in my case.
Shahida, what you did, I think, is perfect because doing this asynchronous learning, you are respecting students' reality because maybe they have only one cell phone at home or maybe one computer, and
Yes.
there are 3 kids at home and they cannot use the same computer at the same time. So what you did is you found a way, Shahida, and I really
Yes.
appreciate that, to respect everybody's reality and
Yes.
giving them access to keep learning at their own pace and at their own time. Hats off to you.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much. Thank you so
Yes,
very
that's
much.
very impressive to me.
Even I would like to add over here that teachers basically are following the hybrid teaching methodologies where students who can afford these resources are allowed to use these resources while those who can't are welcomed in the physical classrooms at the same time. So hybrid teaching is the blend of both physical and virtual at the same
Yeah.
time.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Mr. Steve.
Would,
Thank you.
excuse
Yeah,
me, I would
and
like to add a question over here that Huma Ajmal is asking for the same thing, Ms. Tasneem, that what age is appropriate for hybrid learning? Anyone from you can just put the light on it?
These days, Ms. Shrima, I would say that even in the pre-primary section, they are attempting online virtual classes. So we are not age restricted over here. So I believe that if students, if parents, if teachers are comfortable along with the management of the school, we can always go for such blended learnings.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Good
So there is
observation.
one more question that for early year students, what writing approach is more appropriate or helpful? Aisha Zahid's question.
Early years,
Yes, for
of
early.
course, I believe that in early years we usually follow product approach, right? In which children are, given that pattern of writing, sentence structure. They are, the samples are given to, the early years. All right, product approach is used in the early years, but simultaneously you have to encourage, that thought process of the children where you provide room for thinking, creative thinking, so that process and product can be blended even since the very start. For example, in early years, for you may adopt problem solving approach when you provide any heighted area to your children to access, to reach, and they can't reach to that point, and you just ask them that what is the solution now, how can you reach to that area, how can you reach that object that you have hanged on a far distant area. So they will place any stool, any edge to reach that object. So they will find out solutions. This is how you are finding approach process where you are giving room to the children to think and then apply. All right. So
Yes.
the blend of product and process can be applied since early years, since the very start of the learning age. So it's again upon the teachers which approach they are going to be used in their ELT classrooms. It is particularly my ELT subject oriented. Uh, for other subjects, the other expertise may come up with their suggestions, but my opinion that I have shared in this session is particularly for ELT sessions. All
Yes.
right. So
Yes.
I
Thank you
hope
so
I
much.
have answered,
Yes, you
the
have
question.
beautifully answered. You have
Yeah.
beautifully answered because the thing you have said it was very clear. So I just want,
Rima,
yes,
I don't have access to the questions. If people are making questions on Facebook Live, I have no access to that. I want to apologize for that. I'm just here with StreamYard.
yeah. I just want you people just. I have just voted the questions. So later onwards, we are going to continue with some questions and we will answer them later because the time is going to be running off. So. For this, I would like to thank you all my respected guest speakers for giving your very important time to all of us to educate us and to help us out for ELT and giving us a very, you can say, impressive and instructive idea. So then we all teachers would really love to implement them in the classroom. Thank you all so much.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank
Thank
The
you
you.
very
pleasure is all mine. Yeah.
Thank you. And I just want to announce a small announcement, which is like that we are going to provide certificates. We are going to email certificates to our participants who have registered themselves to us, so they will get their certificates, inshallah, through email. And for the lucky draws, just don't forget to give your feedback from every of our respectable guest speakers that what you have learned from each of our guests. Then we can just do the lucky draws, and from there we can go for the takeaways. So with a special note that I have also want to share that when you educate one person, you can change life. But when you educate many, you can change the world. Really, you guys are really impressive, and I just learned a lot. And I'll surely do the things which you have explained in my own personal experiences as well. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you
I
very
love,
much.
yeah,
Same
I
here.
love the
Same
way you
here.
people have
I
done this
learned a lot.
job.
I learned a lot from the presenters.
Same
I
here.
learned a lot.
Thank you
Same
so much.
here.
Take very good care of yourself.
You
Take care
too.
of. Take care
Yeah.
of.
Take care. Take care.
Allah Hafiz, everyone. And
Love
I would
it.
also a really important announcement which I also want to give
Huh?
that in the next month we are also having an event like this. So inshallah soon we will come up with some great ideas and some other space to talk about. So we'll see next month inshallah as well
All right.
in a coming month. Thank you
Can
so
I
much.
say can I say something there, Rima?
Oh yeah, Mr. Gosawat, why not?
I'm very happy and honored to be sharing with teachers from Pakistan.
Oh,
I love this cross-cultural experience. So thank you for staying, for sharing
thank
this on a Saturday evening, right? Hope everybody has a good night. Enjoy
you.
the rest of the
Good night.
weekend,
Good night.
and
Yeah, you too.
thank you very much. Thank you.
Have a
Thank
nice weekend. Have a
Thank
nice
you.
weekend.
Have a
Yeah.
nice weekend to all of you. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you
Bye
so
bye.
very much for this opportunity.
Thank
Take
you. Most
care.
welcome.
Have a
Take care.
great evening ahead.
Yeah.